Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 505 on Racing Show live from New York. The night of weekly race talk. We'll talk about Martinsville, some Formula One action, and we're going to do a little highlight of NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion Justin Bonsignore and the Ken Massa team, Ken Massa owned team. And some other things. We'll talk about some new sponsors for a key driver, and we'll also be talking about Banquet etiquette, which I normally talk about this time of year. But we're going to go right to Martinsville, not physically, but with the results and what went on in Martinsville with the Cup Series. Joey Logano was the winner, a controversial win. Some people say he bumped Martin Truex Jr. out of the way. Some people say Martin Truex went down on him. Some people say that's just plain old good short track racing. And I'll tell you what, short track racing is the best racing there is. But anyway, we got Joey Logano was the winner. Denny Hamlin was second. Martin Truex Jr. was third. Kyle Busch was fourth. Brad Keselowski was fifth. Kurt Busch was sixth. Chase Elliott having a fine run for the Chase towards the end here. And seventh, Ryan Newman eighth, Daniel Suarez ninth, and Kevin Harvick rounding out the top 10. The four playoff drivers going into Texas this weekend is Joey Logano with a win, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., and Kevin Harvick. Again, the next event is Phoenix. That's on after Texas. Texas 11-4. Phoenix is 11-11. And the last event to determine the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion will be held at Homestead Speedway in Florida on 11/18. It's hard to believe that the season has come to an end. It starts early in February. Speaking of the NASCAR Cup Series, Jimmy Johnson, who has been sponsored by Lowe's, will be departing Hendrick Motorsports, and it was announced by Hendrick Motorsports and Ally Bank that 2019 will see Jimmy Johnson carrying Ally Bank's logo for all 38 points races and 6 non-point races in 2019. Jimmy Johnson having the same sponsor all his career is kind of unheard of in this series as sponsors bounce from driver to driver. And, you know, we all know the Richard Petty STP deals that went on for quite some time, as well as Jeff Gordon with the DuPont logos on his cars throughout the years. So this is big. Now, you have to wonder, you know, how does that come to be? A, how do you keep a sponsor that long? And we've talked about that. You have to do the right thing for the sponsor. But B, to have the same sponsor most of your career. Now, I always said with all the sponsor changes in NASCAR in the top 3 series anyway, the Cup, the Xfinity, and the Camping World Truck Series, a lot of that had to do with die-cast sales. You change the sponsors, you change the logos. Wow, every guy and gal that buys die-cast is going to run out and have to go get one. And because they want the new one. They want to have every one. They want to be the first on their block, so to speak, with that die-cast. So I'm not saying this is what happened here, because I think Lowe's finally decided that maybe it's time we do something else with our sponsorship dollar. And a team like Lowe's, and I don't know officially, or a sponsor like Lowe's, what they actually gave, but I'm thinking it's over $20 million for the season. Now, I know when UPS was involved with Robert Yates Racing and Dale Jarrett, it started out as $16 million, and by the time they were done, it was around 20. And then UPS stepped back and did some associate sponsorship. But you gain a lot out of it if you do it right. And you know, Lowe's was the official tool of NASCAR. with some of their other brands, as you know, and UPS was the official shipping company of NASCAR. So it's all good, and I you know, continue to wish Jimmy Johnson well in his endeavors, and you have to wonder how many years does Jimmy Johnson have in the seat of a top-rate race car. He's still performing, although his season didn't start out well, but he's still performing, he's still making it happen, and anytime you sit in the seat of a Hendrick Motorsports car, you're halfway there. The battle is halfway there, so it's all good. And Mr. Slice is saying, Joey better not end up in front of Martin at the end of any last few races. And you know, it's funny, I saw on social media that some people were saying that if Mark Truex ever needed a job, he might not want to go to Penske and see if he has one. But you know, it's short track racing, folks. It's short track racing. And at the end of that straightaway, you're probably around 108, 112 miles per hour. And you know, you're moving at a rate of speed that, you know, think about it. At 60 miles an hour, you're going a mile a minute. So at 90 miles an hour, you're going a mile and a half a minute. So do the math. By the time you lift and go, you know, you've gone like a half a straightaway by the time you realize something's happening. And you know what? For that brief moment, the spotter says, clear. You go. But the other guy's spotter is saying the same thing, clear. And you go for the same piece of real estate at the same time. The law of physics say two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. It's just impossible. Good short track racing. I hold no grudges to Joey Logano. And, you know, Martin, at this time, it didn't go your way. It's just that simple. Anyway, the Xfinity Series was off. They will be at the Texas Motor Speedway this weekend to continue their run for their playoff spot. But the Camping World Truck Series was at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. And Johnny Sauter was the winner there, followed by Brett Moffitt. Matt Snyder was third. Ben Rhodes fourth. Kyle Benjamin fifth. Justin Haley was sixth. Noah Gragson was seventh. Harrison Burton eighth. Christian X ninth. And Timothy Peters rounding out the top 10 there. The final four playoff contenders in the Camping World Truck Series are Johnny Sauter, who's got a win, Noah Gragson, Brett Moffitt, and Grant Enfinger. And so we got some good stuff going on there at the Truck Series. And I'll tell you, a truck race at Martinsville. Now, I've been to many events at the Martinsville Speedway. And watching the trucks race at Martinsville is similar to watching a race at your local short track, whether it's a quarter mile, a third, even a half mile. There's a lot of beating and banging, pushing and shoving. And you can't imagine, and I'm going to say this, and to watch a race on TV, whether at any level, is kind of boring. You go to Martinsville, and you watch a race in Martinsville. Now, I had my spring seats were at the start-finish line, just in front of the columns, where the press box is above you, and my fall seats were in the middle of turn 1 and 2, about 3/4 of the way up. And I'll tell you what, there is no better racing. No better racing when you're at a track like Martinsville. It's flat, it's shaped like a paperclip. Just this weekend I said I said, man, I'm missing the race, and you know, they're racing on a paperclip, and they couldn't understand until I went on my phone and I brought an aerial view, and the guy goes, a non-racer person, he goes, that looks like two drag strips side by side, and you have to make a sharp turn at the end. I said, pretty much. It's a tough place to race. And so you're going to have some beating and banging at Martinsville. And again, the Truck Series, they will be headed to Texas as well this upcoming season. And we're talking about the NASCAR Series, the Whelen Modified Tour. Tommy Catalano clinched the Rookie of the Year honors on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, beating out Blake Barney by 26 points. And I'll tell you what, it's good to see there were a handful of drivers contending for the Rookie of the Year honors in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and that shows growth, and growth is big. You know, even though the car counts aren't what they once were years ago, it seems like new teams are coming in every year, new young teams, young guys. I mean, you take some of these guys from the local short tracks, and I say to people, when you race a modified or a tour type modified, or even an SK modified at a local short track, when you're racing those things, you know, the cost to build them might be a little different, but the cost to go, the cost for fuel, the cost for tires, the cost for the cars themselves are pretty much the same. So when a modified driver or a SK driver or even a crate modified driver says, it costs too much, it costs too much to run on the tour. Like, you know, again, you have to sit down and do the math as a businessman. You have to look at it and say, now wait a minute, I have to get this many tires. You know, you could get up to 10 on some of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour events. You could get up to, doesn't mean you have to buy 10, but the teams that are buying 10 seem to have a better shot at a better finish, because what they've done is they can get a perfectly matched set to their needs. If you just go there and buy 4 and 1 spare, you know, you're stuck with what you have. So do you have to be that way? And I've said to some of these guys that are on the fence running the tour, I said, you know what? Nobody says you have to run all 16 races. Run 4 or 5. Retain your Rookie of the Year status, you know, by not running that 6th event. And now you have an idea what it's going to cost you, but you're also going to have an idea what you're going to make. And in some of these weekly tracks that have modifieds as the feature division, what you make for starting the race is like a top 3 at a local short track. And again, nobody is really in it for the money. And I can remember Mr. Sanderson with the Flamingo Motorsports team, what year he won the championship. And I said, hey, congratulations. I said, you'll get a nice check today. He goes, yeah, for about $100,000. I said, wow. He goes, yeah, but it cost me $300 to win it. You know, like Junior Johnson once said, the best way to make $1 million in racing is to start with $2 million. But you know, congratulations to Blake Barney on his Rookie of the Year. He'll be honored at the NASCAR Whelen, actually the NASCAR Touring Series banquet that'll be held in Charlotte in the first week in December. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the NASCAR Whelen Modified Champion, Justin Bonsignor, and his Ken Massa-owned race car and race team when we come back.
Hey, what's up? Oh, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic, 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Just looking through the chat room, and Jay Slice, former crew chief of one of my, actually two of my cars, and he hit the nail right on the head. You know, NASCAR should cut those 1.5 mile cookie cutter tracks and find more half-mile to 1 mile racetracks, and I totally agree with that. You know, as a fan, and over the years I've become a fan of racing, and you go to these 1.5 mile, 2 mile, 2.5 mile racetracks. Yeah, you know, and the green flag flies, you're standing up, you're watching, you know, okay, and you know, and you really can't sit down until the people in front of you sit down who can't sit down until the people from them. So it's like, you know, a wave, but backwards. It's the front rows sit and everybody else sits. And then it's like, of course, depending where you're standing. And it's the same, you know, they'll race hard at the green flag to get track position, and they'll kind of cruise around, and then you don't really see anybody really racing again until the first caution or a scheduled pit stop, and then everybody races again to get that position, because that side-by-side stuff, you know, it's tough. You know, you could be in 10th and be like a 10th off the lead, but when you look at this, when you look at these things, and you look at this double file restarts, you know, go back, and I'm going to say it's about 20 years ago or so, when NASCAR changed that the lead lap cars started on the outside and the lap cars started on the inside. And if there was a penalty, it was always the tail end of the longest line. So if the longest line was the lap cars, which at times it was, that's where you went. If it was the lead lap cars, again, you went to the back. But now, the tail end of the longest line is going to change your position by 1 spot. So that's a rule I think that NASCAR should take a look at. But anyway, going back to short track racing. Short track racing, when NASCAR came out in 1948, it was formed and started racing in 1949. When they came out, most of what they raced on was short tracks. Some were dirt. And then, you know, Daytona was built, and boom, 2.5 mile super speedway, and it did well. It did well, and it's 31-degree banking, 2.5 miles around. The facility is so big it has its own zip code. Nobody believes me. Look it up. Then Talladega came around about many years later, and Talladega was 33 degrees of banking, 2.66 miles. It had to be a little bit bigger and a little bit taller. But not for bragging rights. The reason that the banking at Talladega is 2 degrees higher, and that's about 3 stories on a building, because the sand in Daytona couldn't take the weight. And that little bit of sand on 2 degrees is a lot when you're going up as high as you do. The dirt and the foundation at Talladega was a lot harder, so it was able to handle the weight of the banking. A lot of people don't know that. And that Lake Lloyd in the middle of Daytona Speedway, that was formed when they took the dirt out of the infield to make the banks. They hit water. Right? Again, it's one of those trivial things that I just happen to know about. But anyway, we want to talk about Justin Bonsignore. First, he's a homegrown guy. Guest on not only this show a couple of years back, but also when I did that other show I did around 2000, 2001 too, when he was a go-kart champion for the Eastern Karting Racing Association. And I knew then that Justin was going to be a champion, no matter where he went. I knew then. He presented himself well. He's a good-looking guy. His looks from when I first met him, and I'm going to say he was like maybe 10 to his looks now, all he did was grow. He still had the same face, the same smile, the same personality. Justin Bonsignore is a guy, and I'm going to say this, I know I said this once before, he just missed it. He just missed it. If he was a little younger, he'd have that cup ride, that Xfinity ride, the truck ride. He'd be working his way up. There's Justin with the championship trophy. That trophy is, I believe, is a Lennox Bowl. And every champion going back to 1985, there's a plate with their name. It's almost like the Stanley Cup. It has every champion. And Whalen agreed to take the Fedler Light Modified Tour champions and have them on. That's his dad in the gray shirt. To the right of the trophy, Tom Bonsignore. I know Tom Bonsignore for many years, a good friend, and we've helped each other a lot. There's a closer shot of that picture. And you look at this, the proud dad on the left, on the left of the screen. There's nobody more proud of his kid than maybe his mom, but then his dad. And I'll tell you what, his dad has been behind his racing since he started go-karts as a little kid. And I never really saw him wreck in go-karts. Then he moved into they call it the Charger class at the Riverhead Raceway in Long Island. It's just really like a street stock on steroids. And then he went into the modifieds, and then he's even run the 3/4 midgets, the TQs, and successful in everything he's got. And there's a good shot of that car coming out of a corner. And I'll tell you what, here it was in 2018. There's a group shot there, and there's car owner Kenny Massa on the left with his wife. And 16 events they ran, 8 wins, 12 top 5s, 15 top 10s, 5 poles. His average start was 2.8. His average finish was 3.4. Top 3 in points 4 times. 2018, 2017, 2016, 2014, just missing. Like any race during that year, you take out the bad one and make it an average finish in those years that he didn't win the championship, he would have been a champion in that series. He's the first driver to have an average finish of 4th or better since Mike Stefanik in 1998. Mike Stefanik was no slouch on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And I've been following the Modified Tour for quite some time, and I've seen Mike Stefanik, and I've seen the guys who 10 years into the touring series. I only got to see Richie Evans and Jerry Cook race when they came to Islip Speedway, but I got to see, Jerry Marquis. I got to see Mike Stefanik. I got to see the Fuller brothers, Steve Park. I got to see those guys racing. The Bluichs, late John and his brother Jimmy. Their dad, John Jr. I got to see them race. And I'll tell you what, those guys were tough guys to race with. But Justin has a different style. Yeah, he's tough to race with, but you know what? He's not going to beat you. He's not going to bang you. He's not going to rub you. He's going to race you, and he's going to race you clean. And when Justin goes by you, all you're going to see is his numbers, because as he goes by you, he's not chopping down on you to make you have to check up. He's not putting himself in a position to wreck or blow up. He races clean and hard. And, when you look at his statistics over the years, you wonder why this didn't happen sooner. And I'm going to tell you why it didn't happen sooner, and this is just my opinion. Because Long Island modified drivers that came out of Riverhead Raceway were shunned upon. They used to call it river wreck. When the Long Islanders showed up a few years, not that many years ago, when I first got on the tour as an official, when the Long Island guys showed up pulled through the pit gate, whether it be Stafford, Thompson, New Hampshire, Seekonk, wherever, the official go, here comes another guy from the wrong island. The wrong island. And as guys from Long Island started coming, they stopped saying that. They stopped saying that. But I told the story about a month or so ago when it looked like Justin was going to be a champion. And when I met with his car owner, Ken Massa, and his dad. And all his dad said to me, he goes, I got this guy. He's looking to get in the tour. He's wanted to talk to Justin. Can you explain to him what it takes to be a car owner on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour? I said, yeah, sure, I'll talk to him. So this soft-spoken guy comes over to me with a smile on his face, his two little kids, and we start talking. And I said, listen, it's a commitment. If you're looking to really do this full-time, it's a commitment. You know, if you're just looking to do it part-time, that's good too, but if you're gonna do it, do it. And I said, it's gonna cost a lot of money. He goes, that's not a problem. Gonna need a nice shop. That's good, we're good. Gonna need some, some dedicated team members. Not a problem. And you have to gel with the driver. Justin, and I talked up Justin like he was my own kid that day. And I'm sure if you talk to his car owner, you talk to his dad, it kind of was like that. Because anytime a guy came from my local track, because I was the head official at Riverhead for a while, and anytime a guy or even a girl from my track was going to move up to that level, I was proud. I felt like I was part of the development. And even when Justin was on my show back in 2001, the show we were doing back then on Long Island E for Speed, which was part of MRN, we had him on, and it was really a radio show that we streamed onto a website. So he had the headset on and a big microphone, and he had his notes, and he's reading, because he didn't want to forget anything. He didn't want to forget his sponsors. I'm sitting back, I'm like, this kid is good. He wasn't coached, to my knowledge. Make sure you say this sponsor, make sure you say it. He just didn't know what to say and what to do. And even on nights that he didn't have a good night, the motor would blow up, and then the motor would blow up a couple of weeks later, and again, and a crash, and a bent chassis because somebody, was a little overzealous or a lap car getting in the way. You didn't see him getting out of his car throwing stuff. You didn't see him cursing and yelling and screaming and going over to that guy to try to have a fight. Partially because he's not a fighter. He's a tiny little guy. But I look back on this, and when he's got his first win, I was like, wow, that's good. And then the second, and then the third, and then this season. I said the beginning of our show when we first started back in April, and he came right out of the box. Actually it was March. Came right out of the box. I says, they're gonna have a banner of the season. And everybody was like, Doug Colby. Yeah, Doug Colby is a great driver. I'll tell you what, if I wouldn't want to be racing with him because he would tear me up. But I watched those two guys on many occasions running side by side. He ran side by side with the best of them that are on the tour now. And Ronnie Silk, Brian Priest, who's going to be in a Cup car next year. Doug Colby, like I said, there's so many. There's just so many. Timmy Solomino. And you watch Justin race, he puts on a show. He puts on a show. And that's what it's all about. Mike Helton, president of NASCAR at the time, we were in New Hampshire, and I was working the Xfinity, then nationwide race. And we had a long stretch of green flag racing. And Mike Helton's sitting on my right, and he goes, we need a caution. I went, yeah. We got to get a caution. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that. He goes, I'm going to show you. He hits the yellow light. He says, it's debris in 2. So I got to say this now. All right, Flagman, Mr. Flagman, put it out. Debris in turn 2. I'm looking with my binoculars. I don't see nothing. And then they have a picture, and on that they're sending in of debris on the ground. And I'm looking at my binoculars. There's no debris out there. But anyway, I looked at him and I went like this, because he is the president, of NASCAR at the time. And he said, Joe, all we do is put on a show. And that show's got to be good. But we got to pay for that show. that show is paid for with commercials. People don't want to miss any races. They want to hit the men's room and the ladies' room, get something to drink, whatever. When Justin shows up at the racetrack, he puts on a show. And like I said, it's a shame that he's 30 years old, because if he was 25, he'd still have that shot. Hey, who knows? He might still have that shot. Somebody might need a driver. And I'll tell you what, if I was a truck owner or an Xfinity owner, I'd give him that shot. I really would. He's good on equipment. He's sociable. When you watch him do the autograph sessions, he's like he's a kid in a candy store, smiling, talking to everybody. It's all good. You know, and I had a friend of mine that wanted a Justin Bonsignor hero card signed. The line went all the way, you know, to the men's room. I was like, no. As I just went to the back of the table, I said, hey, Justin, a friend of mine needs anything. Boom. Here you go, Joe, no problem. Good luck, Justin. There's more championships in your future. The marriage that you and Kenny Massa have is like one that's going to last, one of those death do us part thing. Kenny Massa spares no expense, gets the right people. And when he put Ryan as the crew chief at the start of the season, that team, it was like adding oil to the gears. It was just smooth. Smooth as glass, no hiccups. Everybody got along, and for the handful of tour races I went to, anytime I walked over to that team, everybody was smiling, and I'm going to say this, they weren't working hard, they were working smart. Congratulations, Justin. Many more championships are going to come, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to also thank your parents, because they raised a good kid. They really did. And Tom, Angie, you got some good boys there. So anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got some Formula One stuff to talk about and some other racing things when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Anyway, what do we got here? We got an update. We'll call it an update. Robert Wickens, he's a Canadian IndyCar driver who was in a violent crash in this year's Indianapolis 500. He was severely injured, and I say this crash was violent. I think I have some shots of it. Kind of rode the wall, hit it a few times, and did some barrel rolling, and that's a shot of it. And as you can see, the car is breaking apart as it's supposed to do. And how more cars weren't involved in this wreck is beyond me. And I've seen a lot of wrecks in my 45 years of involvement in racing. And in that car, that driver in the yellow car that's going, his helmet got just nicked. If it would have came down a little bit more, we would have had a tragedy, with no doubt. And then when the car hit the ground, it exploded. Now, these guys are going about 220 miles an hour when this happened. It was a grim feeling when you watch this live on TV. You hear the crowd gets real quiet. The announcers' voices change. And, well, this happened at Pocono, as you see. And what Robert Wickham, and according to ESPN, announced that Wickham is paralyzed from the chest down. The Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports driver posted on Instagram recently clarifying his injuries, matching what ESPN had also said. And our prayers go out to Robert for his injuries, and who knows, a miracle could happen, the paralysis might disappear, but it might not. So think about that. Think about, you know, a man is making his living, or a woman, racing race cars. And somebody said to me a long time ago, when somebody I knew lost their life racing, they said, that's the gamble we take every time we strap into a race car. In race cars, safety has become better and better and better over the years. And when you have a crash like that, you know, the fact that he went up and hit the wall and barrel rolled around it and hit the ground and then exploded, you know, a wreck like that in the 60s, they would have been scraping them off the pavement and just bringing them right to the mortuary. So the fact that he's alive tells you that the safety measures taken, not only in NASCAR, Indy, but racing across the board, whether it's dirt, whether it's motorcycle, whatever safety measures that could be made are happening. And I know a couple of people that I knew personally and very well who lost their lives racing. I myself was in a wreck 22 years ago that I'm still suffering the effects of. And, you know, this is a serious sport. You know, people who say, you know, race car drivers are not athletes, I want to laugh in their face. We'll leave it at that. Because I don't think some of these so-called athletic experts know what it's like to sit in a race car that's probably close to 180 degrees, wearing fireproof underwear, a 2- and 3-layer suit, a helmet that takes your breath away sometimes, big heavy gloves, shoes, fireproof socks, and you're bolted in so that, you're strapped in that, even going, it's hard to do because your body can't move. And whether it's at your local short track where you're racing for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an extra distance race in a modified where you're going 100 laps, 150 laps, 200 laps like they did at New Hampshire, or when you're running a Cup car Bristol Or Martinsville, half-mile racetrack where you're in the car racing for 4.5 hours. And you get right out like it's nothing. You know, it's not like the wide receiver who catches a football and he runs 40 yards and you see him in the end zone, you know, all out of breath. Or the guy who, baseball player, who's on second base and is a single to right and he scores and he slides in, he gets up, he's all out of breath. You're talking like less than a minute. Could those guys sit in a race car and drive and think about it? Think about I'll give you a track that I know the times on. Martinsville. Thompson, the Thompson Motorsports Park, the 5/8 mile oval, where they're turning 18 and 19-second laps. You know, you're going down that straightaway, for about, I don't know, maybe 6 seconds each. Then you're in the corners for about 3. Then it's 6 seconds down the straightaway. And 3. And it's not you just cruising, you turn, cruising, you turn. It's your arms are doing this, and you catch some wind, and your car goes over, and the guy's beating and banging on your bumper, and your head's rocking. Race car drivers are athletes. Nobody's going to tell me they're not. And you look at the full face helmets now, and some of them have air blown in and then fresh air blowing in, similar to what like the fire department guys have, the Scott packs. It's not oxygen, it's compressed air, and it helps you. And some of them have cool suits that the cold water is constantly flowing through the suits. But when you look at that, and you look at a race car driver and what they put themselves through. So many drivers in the top series, when I say the top series, when you're looking at the Cup people and those guys, when you look at that, and it's like, wow, years ago, and not that many years ago, I can remember Richard Petty needing oxygen, Kyle Petty needing oxygen at the end of the race. We're only talking 25 years ago. And the hot days, racing in Daytona in July. I mean, come on. That's why the Daytona 500 is in February. It could be cold there at night. I remember going to Daytona and my girls, and they'd be wearing heavy jackets and stuff. So, they're athletes. And again, Robert Wickens, hopefully with therapy, he'll regain some of his movements, but, you never know. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We come back, we'll have the Formula One results out of the Mexican Grand Prix and some banquet etiquette when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Merch Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're gonna punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Anyway, Formula One, Mexican Grand Prix. And I'll tell you what, I don't really watch the Formula One cars, but I follow them. Because first of all, I find it logistically insane how, you know, 1 week they're in Mexico, another week they're in Africa, and then they're in Japan, and they're like all over the place. And it's got to be a logistical nightmare to get all the equipment crossing borders, customs inspectors. And I know what it was like when we took the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour to Canada when we ran at Delaware Speedway in Ontario. And just going through as an official, I mean, it was like, wow, hey, you know, what are you here for? How much are you getting paid? And they needed to know. They needed to know what we were getting paid. And it was kind of funny going through customs when our boss, Chad Little at the time, he said to the customs agent, we all told him. And it comes to Chad, and how much are you getting paid for this? And Chad's like, I don't think that's any of your business. And the customs guy looked at him, and I'm like, oh man, we're going to the customs jail. And he tried to whisper to the guy so we didn't hear what he made. And the guy goes, I can't hear you. But with these guys, I mean, they've been doing it forever. They've been doing it forever. And so they know the drill. And you have to have an inventory of everything that's on your trailer, haul, or however it's getting it there. And if it's sent by plane, you know, it's the same stuff. It's got to be, you know, documented what's on. And if you buy stuff there, you got to fill out all kinds of forms, and whatever you take there, you got to bring back. You know, you can't like just dump it because they think you sold it, and then they're going to want you to pay duty and tax on it. But anyway, the Mexican Grand Prix went like this. Max Verstappen was the winner, followed by Sebastian Vettel. Kimi Räikkönen was third, Lewis Hamilton fourth, followed by Valtteri Bottas. In sixth was Nico Hulkenberg, in seventh was Charles Leclerc, eighth was Stoffel Van Doom, and ninth was Marcus Ericsson, and 10th was Pierre Gasly. The top five in Formula One currently is Hamilton, Vettel, Räikkönen, Bottas, and Verstappen. It's they're like always near the top, these guys. And you know, I'll tell you, it's such an interesting race to watch. When you watch the Grand Prix, there's no beating and banging, and because these cars are so sensitive that you can't hit. You hit, you're out, you're done. You know, and I know NASCAR is experimenting with the way the Formula One and Indy cars pull into the pits, where a compressor button is pressed and car pushes up, eliminates the jackman. Not a bad idea, safe. You know, I've seen jackmen get hit on pit road. Working a race in New Hampshire, the jackman was hit and broke his leg. Though the tire carrier was hit, I don't mean to laugh, but you know, broke his ankle. So, you know, it's anything you can do in the safety of racing, I'm all for. I'm all for it. And there's so many more things. Getting the officials off of pit road, you know, I kind of didn't like it because I thought it was going to be all computer officiating. But no, there's people that are in a control room in a trailer out in the parking lot watching their pit stall assignments from the cameras. And you know what? It's hard to make a mistake when you do it that way. It's just hard. It's hard to make a mistake. You know, I don't agree that you're going to officiate a race with TV monitors. It kind of takes the human element out of it. But when it comes to safety, you know, the pit road's crowded enough. You don't need 43 officials on pit road, or 40 in the Cup Series, and plus the roamers, plus all the officials that are behind the wall, it gets pretty crowded out there. And I know when I worked at truck race at Bristol Motor Speedway, I was walking back to the hauler after the race, and one of the officials says, he goes, "You got a tire circle on your butt." I says, "What?" I says, "I felt the heat, but I didn't know I got touched, and you know, another inch maybe he would have knocked me down." But it's one of those things. It's a safety. It's a safety thing. It really is. Anyway, we got a few minutes left, I believe. So I want to talk about some banquet etiquette, like I have been every time this banquets start coming up, and they're starting to come up, awards banquets for race teams. Again, whether you're in the entry-level division of your racetrack or you're going to Vegas for the Cup banquet, you got to dress the part. And I want to share with you, and I didn't want to bring, show a picture because then everybody know who the person is kind of well known. He showed up at an awards banquet, a racing awards banquet, wearing an orange jumpsuit, white sneakers, and the night before, he dyed his hair yellow. Hey, that's great. If that's what you want to do, dye your hair yellow. I don't, that's your business. But you're going to be on the stage, whether it's one step up on a podium where somebody hands you your trophy and shakes your hand, or up there with a bunch of other people. You're going to be on the stage. And if that's the appearance that you're going to put forth to your sponsor and people who helped you, I think that's embarrassing. I really do. And, maybe you take it for granted, not you, but the person, maybe, I'm the champion, who cares? Just give me my trophy, give me my hardware, I'm going. Give me my point fund check. I gotta go. Now, when you do something like that, and I think that's a total disrespect to the people who helped you, a total disrespect to the organization that sanctioned your event, and total disrespect to your sponsors and yourself. You want to go out and represent, and I'm not saying go get a tuxedo and go get that perfect haircut and, but a pair of slacks, a shirt, jacket, and I tease people, if you don't have a tie, I got a box full, I'll lend you one. In fact, you could keep it. Dress the part, you're a champion. Whether you're a go-kart champion or you're the feature division champion at your racetrack, dress the part. And then I've even seen presenters that show up at these banquets in jeans and a sweater. You're presenting these awards. You're representing either your racetrack, a sponsor, you're representing somebody. But not only that, you're representing yourself. And do you want people to say, wow, the guy couldn't even get dressed up for this? And I tease my friends that, I should have been born in the 40s and the 50s because I like to dress up. Not because I want to be showy. My opinion, and my mom used to say this, if you look good, you feel good. And I never understood that until I got older. Hey, you know what? Feeling nice. You have a nice shirt and nice tie. You have some jewelry on. It's all good. It's not about showing up anybody. It's about representing yourself. And as one of the things that I had done for many years, I represented drivers. And I can remember we were going to meet the man. It's an acronym, M-A-N, the man. The man is the guy with the money, the answer, and the need. We're going to meet with this gentleman at some corporation, some business somewhere, to discuss sponsorship. We did our homework. We had a nice presentation. The driver showed up in dirty jeans and his racing t-shirt. He thought it would be good. It wasn't good. The guy walked in, we sat down, and not only that, the guy does this. Sitting there and he goes, gets out his pack of cigarettes. Guy says, you can't smoke here. Can I smoke by the window? And I'm like this. I'm like, I can't believe we're doing this. Well, you could figure it out. We didn't get that sponsor. We didn't get him. And I learned a valuable lesson as a sponsor finder. Don't bring the driver with you because they could blow the deal. And again, I'll go back to the banquet thing. Dress the part. And then people in the audience, this is another thing that upsets me all the time. They're talking like they're at a backyard barbecue and they're trying to out-talk each other while the champion of their racetrack's featured division is trying to thank his crew, his wife, his mother, the guy across the street, this sponsor, that sponsor, you know, NASCAR, whatever. And nobody could hear it. Nobody. Nobody's paying attention. And in past years, I've seen that the only people trying to pay attention are the people at his table or her table. Those are the people that are trying to hear it. But once their guy's done, they go right back to their party. And I'm going to say part of the problem for that causes this is the open bars at these banquets. I've been to a lot of Touring Series banquets, Mohegan Sun, Charlotte. I've been to a lot of them. New York City, when it was held in New York with the Cup guys and whatnot. And they give you 2 tickets. You can get 2 drinks. So nobody's going to get loud and obnoxious. Nobody's going to get stupid. But some people, when there's an open bar and they've paid $100 a head for this banquet, their seat, the table, the food, whatever, they feel they have to drink $100 worth of liquor. Now, don't get me wrong. I like to have a drink. Depending on what I'm eating is what I'll drink, but I'd like to have a drink on occasion. If I have to drive, I limit myself to 1 or 2. But if I'm sitting in my place or I'm up at my buddy's camper, you know, we'll sit around the fire and we'll drop a few down, you know. But you can't go up there, I'll say drunk. You can't do that. You know, don't make a fool out of yourself. There's people that videotaping, taking pictures. And think about maybe that racetrack has a table of sponsors. And the guy's sitting and goes, you know what? I think I want to sponsor that guy. And you get up kind of crazy. You know, and it's like, whoa. I'm not going to sponsor. I don't want that represented. I don't want that. So guys, gals, whether you're a presenter, whether you're a receiver of an award, whether you're the champion, whether you got most improved, whatever trophy you got, if you think you're going to get a trophy, and you know what, sometimes you can figure it out because you want to sit at table 23 with your buddies, and they make you sit at table 5. Why is that? I'm thinking because they don't want to waste time having you come all the way from the back of the hall. They want to have you up front. So if you sit up there, you might want to know that you're getting an award, you know? And represent yourself. Take pride in what you do. Take pride in what you do, because when you don't, the outsiders, I'm going to call them the fence grabbers, and the people who don't really know about racing, they're going to say, you know, to their kid who wants to get involved, bunch of drunken idiots, you don't want to do that. Stay away from those people. Because one, as they say, bad apple, could ruin it for everybody else. Everybody else. And people spend a lot of money to go to these banquets. Don't ruin it. You know, if you think you're going to ruin it, maybe you should stay home. You know, so that when your name is called, accepting an award for Gallegos Paisano is so-and-so. You know, you want to do that. And again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I'm trying to make your racing experience the best it could be, from the safety aspects of it, from your sportsmanship, to when the season ends and it's trophy time. You want to do the right thing. And as long as you're doing the right things will happen. Just ask Justin Bonsignor. The right things happened. He represented his team, himself, and his family in a top-notch way. And look where it got him. Got him a championship in one of, and I'm going to say this, one of the toughest, hardest series there is to win a championship, because on any given day, if they start 30 cars, 27 have a shot to win. And there was a time on that series where 0.2 of a second was the difference between the pole, starting on the pole first, and going home. That's how competitive this series is. You got to work at it. You got to represent yourself. Nobody's going to hand it to you, and nobody's going to take it away. You got to go get it, and you got to fight for every inch. And sometimes the difference between landing a sponsor or not is because you wore a dress shirt and that other guy wore a t-shirt. Because think about it, a sponsor wants a return on his investment, and if you're going to be standing outside his business, you have your car parked on his lawn, and you have people come in his balloons, just ask V-Rod, legend driver here on Long Island. He goes all over the place, parks his car, gets all dressed up nice, you know, in racing attire. Don't get me wrong, he has a collared shirt, he's all smiled and shaved, and he's giving out stuff, and people are like, this is awesome, this is good. Wow, I want my kid to be like him. Think about that. As a race car driver, you're representing not only yourself, but the sport as well. And think about how one race car driver could ruin it for somebody. Anyway, I think we're close to wrapping up. So I want to thank everybody, my social media people and the people in the chat room. Good chat tonight. Saw some people I haven't seen in a while. And it's all good. So I want to thank, again, everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend some time with 505 on Racing. And we got Texas this weekend for the top 3 series. We're winding down to the end there. Banquet season's coming up. It's all good. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun off season. The silly season's going to start. But anyway, wherever your endeavors will bring you this weekend, please be safe. Please be careful. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all. And we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.com.